We will continue with Stefan Aumann. He replaces Holger Gräf. He is a historian and he works as research fellow at the Hessian State Office for Regional History at Marburg, where he is responsible for the development of LAGES, the Hessian Regional History Information System.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. As you've just learned, the paper I'm going to present was actually prepared by my colleague Holger Gräf, which means that whenever I say I, it's actually Holger Gräf who speaks, though I, that is me, may have changed the wording at times. We'll now undertake a considerable leap in time. That is, we are going to talk about biographical data drawn from archival records concerning the early modern military. Let me point out first that the regimental lists, muster rolls, payrolls, lists of casualties, and so forth offer information about individuals that may also show up in church registers, but of whom usually very little is known. This holds particularly true with regard to the rank and file. If these lists and other records were digitized and indexed, they would of course be highly welcomed by genealogists. At the same time, they would be extremely useful with regard to objects of investigation modern military history currently deals with. They will, for example, deliver vast empirical data on the level and scope of the degree of militarization at the time in question. Moreover, they will promote our knowledge about what was labeled Military Europe by Stephen Conway a few years ago, a term that stands for the pre- or multinational armies of the period preceding the French Revolution. Last but not least, they will help us understand the military as one, if not the crucial factor in early modern migration, as the Dutch researchers Jan and Leo Lucassen pointed out 5 years ago. The examples I'm going to present to you are all taken from the holdings of this archive. Please bear in mind, however, that similar material has been produced by the military administrations of other European countries as well. They are actually, and in fact, a mass phenomenon. A problem to be noted is that some of the records mentioned are scattered across different holdings, sometimes mixed with other types of records, even correspondences. Anyhow, I would reckon that the approximately 25 linear meters of shelves in question host biographical data for several hundreds of thousands of individuals from the time between the 1670s and the middle of the 19th century, as I said, only in this archive in Marburg. Unfortunately, however, and due to the lack of formalization or standardization in drawing up these lists, they differ considerably with regard both to their physical appearance and to their contents. Practically all of them are written on paper, yet some are bound, some folded, some consist of single sheets. The dimension of the records differ as well. The majority of them is folio-sized, roughly 25 by 33 centimeters. Others measure 10.5 by 33 centimeters. Some small booklets measure only 13 by 17.5 centimeters. As you will see, the names of individuals are sometimes simply listed one after the other. Sometimes they are registered in tables. Sometimes they are part of a narrative. Very few of these records have been digitized so far. Let me just mention the Hetrina online database. The acronym stands for Hessian Troops in America, which offers data on roughly 30,000 Hessian soldiers fighting for the British in the American War of Independence. Let me show you 4, as I hope, quite representative examples of the records in question. The first example you see is the roll of a company of the militia dating from the year 1674. Following the ensign Fendrich Beuneburg, the sergeant, quartermaster, and a drummer, 7 units are listed, led by an appointee or first-class private. Next to their names, the places of origin of the soldiers are listed. Sometimes there is further information on the exact location or affiliation of the places mentioned, as is the case in the example of Hermann Kempf von Thun auf dem Eisfeld, which is supposed to be Deuna, some 18 kilometers southeast of Duderstadt in the Eichsfeld. The second example is taken from the Hauptrolle, or main role, of the Colonel von Gräfendorf's company, dating from the year 1692. On the left side of the roll, you have the rank, the name, and sometimes information concerning promotions to a higher rank or transfer to another unit. The right side is divided into 6 columns that hold the place of origin, the age, the occupation, preceding foreign military services, the wife, and the number of children are also indicated. We learn, for example, that the Sergeant Major Merten Kirsten came from Großen Gotthard in the Principality of Sachsen-Weißenfels. He was then 26 years old and had already been employed in Swedish for 2 years and Saxon for 3 years military services. The company totaled up to 70 men, from which 31 were foreigners, which means that they came from outside the Landgraviate of Hesse-Kassel. One of them is the 20-year-old Augustin Dutertre from Caen in Normandy. Another one, the 40-year-old Hans Caspar Trautwein from Langensalza in Saxony. He was a miller, but had already spent 4 years in the Imperial Army and another 6 years in the Bavarian Army. This column holds this information. The third example is taken from a so-called monthly list, in this case of the regiment of the hereditary Prince of Hesse-Kassel. These monthly lists record all changes concerning the personnel. The front side usually contains numerical synopses, that is, the number of the men actually in service, of entries, transfers, delegations, promotions, desertions, casualties, and the like. The reverse side then provides the explication of these numbers, in which the respective individuals and their places of origin are mentioned together with the reason why they are listed. The example here shows Christoph Vogt in the company of Rosenthal from Grifte, Amt Gudensberg, who succumbed to his injuries on the 3rd of December in 1758 in the Sigbar Lazarett in Preußisch Münden, nowadays simply referred to as Minden. My final example is taken from the Maß- und Rangierrolle of the Hessian Chasseur from the end of the American War of Independence. In this role, all members of the regiments are listed according to their rank and then, within the different companies or corporalships, according to their size. The lists provide the first and family names, the age, the size, place of origin, and the date of their enlistment. I hope that you have gained an idea of the look and feel of the records in question. I'm quite curious to learn if they do not cause any problems as regards HDR methods and approaches, or if they rather contribute to some disillusionment on the part of the read partners. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, actually, I think we were not disillusioned when we saw this, but the challenges are very clear. Please.
I will take the process instead.
Yeah, okay. Maybe one general remark. If you are doing digitization project, or if you're thinking about what can be done with such documents, it's always extremely important to know how many of them are there and how homogeneous are they. Yeah. This is one of the questions, and therefore my advice to everyone who is working with this is to make a good selection of the whole thing. You said 25 kilometers?
25 shelf meters.
25 shelf meters, so still a lot of data if you digitize them from the beginning to the end. And if you are designing a project where you want to include automated processes, it's extremely important to know how representative are specific documents you have shown us. So let's assume that for all the documents, thousands of examples will appear more or less in the same way. Yeah. Then, maybe
Let's see some.
you want to say?
Yes.
Yeah?
Some results from the preprocessed states.
So you can see the enhancement result. You can see here some parts of the image have been enhanced. So this is a zoom in just to show you these areas that have been enhanced. And actually this leads to a good an enhanced binary image. I think it's quite appropriate for form analysis and recognition. Also, this is an example. Again, a zoom. As you can see here, the strokes are still here in the binary image, so there is not a problem for recognition, I suppose. So this is a characteristic example for enhancement, so you can see this problem here. So it's just to say that we didn't use some special parameters for your measurements. So the general setting. So you can see that this defect has been disappeared here. So this leads to this image, which is quite clear. It has enough information in order to detect the position of the text in the form. So this is a zoom. You can see that the lines are still here, so we can detect the position of the text. Okay, that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I have another question. What Mr. Gatos says leads me to the question, the size of the files is for the archives always something, as you know, to choose, and some problem. If you digitize 100,000 files, of course, it's a huge difference of very high importance, the size. So we saw different sizes here, and we saw some pictures, color scans and black and white scans. So my question would be, is that, I assume it's a different, but for you, is it correct to say the higher the resolution, the better it is? Is that so? Or can we say, no, we only need the scans and the size is not so important? Is that so? Or should we, if we wanted to start a project, should we try to digitize in a very high resolution, or shouldn't we? Is that important for you? Images.
Usually 300 dpi or ppi are sufficient for documents, but we have seen some very small writing. There are 400 or 600 could be helpful. It's just a question of the information you get. But 300 is, I think, for document processing absolutely fine. From the digital preservation point of view, the TIFF image is certainly the best thing you can produce, as we have heard yesterday from Istvan. And that's also according to the German Science Fund, the usual storage media, storage format. From processing, JPEG files are also fine. So there is no big advantage comparing a TIFF file with 300 dpi with a JPEG file with 300 dpi.
Oh, that's very nice, because 300 dpi is a size we can handle.
Is handled. And I always say, I mean, okay, if you get funding and the funder requests TIFF, then it's clear. But for an in-house project, from my point of view, often a good JPEG is fine, because you still will keep the original. You will not throw away the original. So it's just a working substitute. Yeah, and it makes a difference if you have 43 million cards. It makes a big difference if you have TIFF or JPEG. On the other hand, storage costs are going down. Yeah.
You're discussing about file sizes and file formats. I think it's more important that everybody creates a digitization process where the process creates images where the result is authentical, reliable, and for long-term storage. That's the point.
And has many consequences.
So to introduce myself, I'm Markus Dien from the Computer Vision Lab, and we are dedicated also to the basic layout analysis. So here you can see a nice example. Basically, we didn't train anything, we didn't know about the data we get. And you can see all these rectangles. The computer says, okay, here is text. And if it's blue, the computer says, okay, it's handwritten. And actually, we trained the computer using Stasi documents, but still you can see that most of the text is correctly labeled in this case. And we find most of the lines agree. Yeah, like it's complicated. So if we apply the class string, we get something like this. And now you need to imagine that if we also feed into the system that there are lines, they would be split and it would all be correct here. What is wrong now? Do you want to see more examples?
Yes.
So I just show some more examples that we've seen now annotated. You can see that now the classification gets more into troubles at some points, but at least the text line detection is mostly correct here. And yeah. Don't watch this. And here you see, this is pretty complicated for us because we do not know that there is a table. You just feed the machine to it, and you can see that still sometimes it correctly breaks, but a lot of cells are merged together, which shouldn't be the case. I have one final image to show. It's this image, and it's pretty nice because there is a lot of things that we don't like, but still you can see that we can correctly recheck all the boxes at the border because they are gray, so the computer knows that this is not text, it's just some noise there.
My question is this a special word for starting each register? This word. This word. Is it always the same?
Yeah. Yes, it's an abbreviation.
Is this an abbreviation for starting the register?
Military rank.
Okay.
And the first thing is a number. A bracket and a number. It's 1, 2, 3.
It's a number?
Yes, it's 1, 2, 3, isn't it?
And is this a full register?
That's an entry. It belongs together.
It's an entry. Okay.
So if you know this structure and if you know the abbreviations, if they are part of the lexicon, you again have a big advantage and some chance to structure this page according to these entries.
In fact, we have processed record like this, and results that we have got with similar resistors, kind of resistors, are rationally good.
Also
for particular for searching. For full transcription, so some words are not correctly transcribed, but for searching you can do this kind of resistance searchable with rather easily, not a big problem.
Thank you. Other questions?
This is not the case, so just give us 1 or 2 minutes to change the speakers, and
Yes.
then we can go ahead. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.